Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Rich and Raw, the podcast that transforms your money mindset in just 15 minutes. Get ready to be Esthersized. If you love these mindset shifts, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let's dive in.
All right, so welcome back. We missed chapter 2. So we're going to do chapter 2. And if you just had 1, that's perfect. If you had 3, don't worry about it. You can go back and listen to 3. Meg and I have read this book a couple times now. And anyways,
we lose track of what's not familiar.
It's so deep, it doesn't matter. So let's get raw and figure out how to be rich too.
Number 2, there is a science of getting rich. There is a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring riches. Once these laws are learned and obeyed by any man, he will get rich with mathematical certainty.
That's crazy.
Right? The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. Those who do things in this certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich, while those who do not do things in this certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor.
I think that seems pretty accurate, right? Because
it's all about mindset.
All the people that win the lottery and they're poor after. And it's hard for people to believe that if I just had more money, this situation would go away. And it wouldn't unless you change the way you do stuff. Right?
Yep. And you can work and work and work and work, but if you're not working with your objective, then you're just burning yourself up.
Right. That's the biggest thing too, is like this whole pushing, burning yourself out, being aggressive. It's not the way of the future. It's not sustainable. And if you're more like a light worker type person, there's no way you can do that. It just won't work. So you have to do it the scientific way. Not a bad idea, right?
That sounds great. Science and spirituality. What? It is a natural law that like causes always produce like effects. Therefore, any man or woman who learns to do things in this certain way will infallibly get rich.
Okay.
I just love the continuity of how it's really mindset. We use mindset all the time these days, but it's really, if you set your mind up, then you will cause, right?
It's a physics issue. It's nothing to do other than that.
That the above statement is true is shown by the following facts. Getting rich is not a matter of environment, for if it were, all the people in certain neighborhoods would become wealthy. The people of one city would all be rich, while those of other towns would all be poor. Or the inhabitants of one state would roll in wealth, while those of an adjoining state would be in poverty. But everywhere we see rich and poor living side by side in the same environment and often engaged in the same vocations. When 2 men are in the same locality and in the same business, and one gets rich while the other remains poor, it shows that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. Some environments may be more favorable than others, but when 2 men in the same business are in the same neighborhood and one gets rich while the other fails, it indicates that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. And further, the ability to do things in a certain way is not due solely to the possession of talent, for many people who have great talent remain poor, while others who have very little talent get rich.
That's a big distinction, right? I mean, I don't feel that way now. I used to think that it was because people are smarter, right? And that's why they were able to have such wealth. And then I went to a convention once with all millionaires, and I was like super excited to meet these super deep thinkers and like evolved humans that are super smart. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I guess that's a judgmental way to look at it, but I was kind of dismayed. I thought these are just all normal people. There's nothing significant. Some of them were even homely looking, and they were all millionaires. And I was like, wait a minute. What am I doing wrong? Maybe I never wanted to be, you know?
Yeah. Well, what's the universal theme if it's not what you perceive with your eyes, right?
Yeah. So it's not talent.
Studying the people who have become rich, we find that they're an average lot in all respects, having no greater talents and abilities than any other men. It is evident that they do not get rich because they possess talents and abilities that other men have not, but because they happen to do things in a certain way, which gets right to the heart, right? Like, to be in America, it's a merit-based system, but this is redefining what the merit is.
Yeah.
Merit is not based on your talent and your natural ability. It's not even based on just your capacity to work hard. It's the merit is a result of finding that certain way and following through it.
Yeah.
In this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting rich is not the result of saving or thrift. Many penurious people are poor, while free spenders often get rich. Penurious, gotta look that one up. Nor is getting rich due to doing things which others fail to do. For two men in the same business often do almost exactly the same things, and one gets rich while the other remains poor or becomes bankrupt. From all these things, we must come to the conclusion that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. If getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way, and if like causes always produce like effects, then any man or woman who can do things in that way can become rich, and the whole matter is brought within the domain of exact science. The question arises here whether this certain way may not be so difficult that only a few may follow it. This cannot be true, as we have seen, so far as natural ability is concerned. Talented people get rich, and blockheads get rich. Intellectually brilliant people get rich, and very stupid people get rich. Physically strong people get rich, and weak and sickly people get rich. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential, but insofar as natural ability is concerned, any man or woman who has sense enough to read and understand these words can certainly get rich. Also, we have seen that it is not a matter of environment. Location counts for something. One would not go to the heart of the Sahara and expect to do successful business. Getting rich involves the necessity of dealing with men and of being where there are people to deal with. And if these people are inclined to deal in the way you want to deal, so much the better. But that is about as far as environment goes. If anybody else in your town can get rich, so can you. And if anybody else in your state can get rich, so can you. Again, it is not a matter of choosing some particular business or profession. People get rich in every business and in every profession, while their next door neighbors in the same vocation remain in poverty. It is true that you will do best in a business which you like and which is congenial to you. And if you have certain talents which are well developed, you will do best in a business which calls for the exercise of those talents. Also, you will do best in a business which is suited to your locality. An ice cream parlor would do better in a warm climate than in Greenland, and a salmon fishery will succeed better in the Northwest than in Florida, where there are no salmon. I love that. But aside from these general limitations, getting rich is not dependent upon your engaging in some particular business, but upon your learning to do things in a certain way. If
Makes
you are
you curious, right? Like, what's the certain way? How many times are you going to say that?
just over and over and over,
Uh-huh.
and just getting through this part and then getting to it, like
Yeah.
we're saying before, right? Like he's basically like packing your mind and tilling the soil of your brain to be able to hear what
And
it is.
hear what it is. Yeah, exactly. Apparently we can't yet.
If you are now in business and anybody else in your locality is getting rich in the same business while you are not getting rich, it is because you are not doing things in the same way that the other person is doing them. No one is prevented from getting rich by lack of capital. Whew. True, as you get capital, the increase becomes easier and quicker, but one who has capital is already rich and does not need to consider how to become so. No matter how poor you may be, if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich and you will begin to have capital. The getting of capital is a part of the process of getting rich, and it is a part of the result which invariably follows the doing of things in a certain way. What does capital mean to you?
Like a nest egg, some sort of equity that you build up. To me, capitalize, to capitalize.
Yep. Because I think from fundraising and like venture funders, right? Like there's people who have money. Like we got friends that'll go out and they'll shop around to find investors for the thing that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense that if you're wanting to work with people who have money that want to do something with you, you need to be aligned with where they're at mentally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It seems like too that, like you were saying, mindset, you need to be willing to fully engage in what he's talking about on an emotional level. It seems like it's more emotional than it is what you do. It's how you think and feel, not what you do, where you live, how hard you work, what you look like, how talented you are.
There's an essence that
Yeah.
comes through.
Yeah. So that means anybody can figure it out then. It's not limited if you're willing to work on those things.
You may be the poorest man on the continent and be deeply in debt. You may have neither friends, influence, nor resources. But if you begin to do things in this way, you must infallibly begin to get rich, for like causes must produce like effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you are in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. If you are in the wrong location, you can go to the right location, and you can do so by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in a certain way which causes success.
Okay, so we don't have to move to get started. I don't have to live in a different house. I don't have to own something. I just need to do it right where I'm at.
And get started.
I like that. That's encouraging.
And it's also, it goes back to that feeling of possibility, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's what he's doing is building a case for all the limitations that we put in our brain that we think it is, and we focus on those things. And I don't have those things, so it's not going to happen, which of course would keep it from happening, just thinking that way, even if it wasn't true.
Because it's a mindset of scarcity and
Yeah.
lack of abundance and lack of gratitude and all of the things you don't have.
Yeah.
Versus shifting to here's what I do have to work with, and that's really all that matters. And
Yeah.
it's relevant.
Yeah. And what do I want to do with what I have to work with? What am I willing to change in me in a certain way?
And where do I focus on getting better, doing better?
Yeah. In other words, what I think I'm not right about. So that would be big right there. I don't get to be right about it because we all have images of ourself that relate to our limitations. Like I define myself by my poorness or whatever, right? It's part of our identity. Can you hear Parker snorking?
No, kind of a little bit. Hi, Parker.
He only wants to be around because we're trying to do this right now.
Well, I know I'm super relieved to be to chapter 4 because then he actually starts getting into the principles of it.
Yeah. Was that the end of chapter 2? That was a short one, huh?
That was the end of chapter 2.
Wow. Powerful. Read the last sentence again. I want to think about that one more time.
If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you are in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. If you are in the wrong location, you can go to the right location. And you can do so by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in a certain way which causes success.
Okay. Certain way causes it. Okay, we'll hang on long enough till we go to chapter 3 next. They're all marked. And we're going to figure this out. I don't have anything wise to say, Megan.
Just let it sit, right?
Yeah. I'm encouraged. I have been thinking a lot about how rich people probably wouldn't have a podcast called Rich. I don't know, would they? I haven't heard of any. They usually hide their richness. Or maybe it's not even a thing to talk about.
Well, I guess we will find out. We have 17 chapters.
Awesome. And they're short.
And they're very short.
Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Remember, all of us deserve to thrive. Let's do it.